Some fates are so absurd it's hard to believe they're real. In this video, we'll share the most unbelievable stories of people who lost their lives in incredibly foolish ways. From embarrassing accidents to shockingly poor decisions. We begin with a tragic incident that occurred in 2015 at Cedar Point Amusement Park in Ohio, USA. An event that saddened the entire nation. At the time, a teacher named James Young was on an annual class trip with his 9th grade students. He got on a roller coaster called Raptor, a ride with multiple loops and a height of 45 meters. Definitely not for the faint of heart. But the ride itself wasn't the issue. After exiting, Young realized he had lost his phone during one of the loops. From outside the ride area, he could even see the phone through the fence. He asked the staff if he could quickly hop the fence to retrieve it, but they told him to wait until the park closed so he wouldn't interfere with the ride or get too close to the tracks. He refused to listen. He climbed the fence anyway and grabbed his phone near the tracks, and then the inevitable happened. He was struck at full speed, 92 kilometers per hour, by a passing train. No one could help him, and he died instantly. To this day, his loved ones are left wondering why he couldn't have just waited until the ride was closed. Equally horrifying was what happened to 57-year-old Norwegian YouTuber Tor Eckhoff in 2021. He did something we're all warned about as kids, something incredibly dangerous and reckless. Walking on unsecured ice. Tor Eckhoff was a regular factory worker who gained almost 1.4 million subscribers by filming his adventures in the Norwegian wilderness. He took viewers on road trips through mountains, hikes across snowy landscapes, and boat rides on scenic lakes. Beautiful and peaceful experiences, or so they seemed. And since he was so experienced with nature, no one expected his life to end so tragically. In November 2021, on his birthday of all days, he headed to Jakobsdam in Kongsberg, a lake that often freezes in winter. Despite relatively mild temperatures, he walked onto the ice and used a chainsaw to cut a hole for a cold water plunge, a way to demonstrate his resistance to freezing temperatures. But things went terribly wrong. When he tried to climb back out of the hole, the ice kept breaking under his weight because of the warmth. He couldn't pull himself out and struggled desperately to survive. Although he was eventually rescued by boat and taken to a hospital, it was too late. The hypothermia was too severe. Some may say it wasn't the smartest idea to jump into an icy lake, but a man who brought joy to so many fans lost his life in a sudden, heartbreaking way. But people can also die from things that seem completely harmless, like drinking water. In August 2023, American mother Ashley Summers drank 1.9 liters of water at once during a heat wave with temperatures over 30 degrees Celsius. While that amount seems high, no one expected what happened next. Her body couldn't handle the sudden intake, and it shut down completely so severely that doctors couldn't revive her, even in the hospital. Sadly, this isn't the only case of its kind. People occasionally die after drinking too much water because their kidneys can't process the overload. The remaining organs essentially drown, cutting off oxygen and blood supply. Another story with tragic consequences came from a live stream by 13-year-old Malachi Hempill. He was simply showing his friends random things around his house during an Instagram live. But along with everyday items, he picked up a firearm, and it quickly became clear that he didn't know how to handle it. No one expected him to accidentally unlock the safety and then look directly down the barrel. With the gun pointed at himself, it suddenly went off and he was killed instantly. At first, his friends thought it was some kind of extreme prank, but they soon realized they had just seen their friend for the last time. This likely never would have happened if the gun hadn't been left lying around unsecured. The next case could have literally been avoided. It involved a lawyer named Gary Hoy, who worked in a Toronto skyscraper in 1993. He had a habit of trying to impress guests by demonstrating the supposed strength of his office windows hundreds of meters above the ground. Many didn't believe the windows were unbreakable, so Hoy regularly ran full speed into the glass and slammed into it with all his weight. He did this countless times with no cracks or damage, but on his final attempt, the window shattered unexpectedly, and Gary Hoy fell hundreds of meters to his death. Unsurprisingly, he didn't survive, and to this day, people ask why he felt the need to keep repeating such a reckless stunt. In 2005, a tragic event in North Yorkshire shocked the entire country. At the time, a group of students set out to explore some of the nearby caves. something they did every year. But this time was different. For the first time, they dared to enter what's known as Manchester Hole, a cave that extends 12 meters underground and leads into a breathtaking stalactite chamber. From there, countless extremely narrow tunnels branch off in all directions, where one must squeeze through muddy, confined passages. Still, that didn't stop the students from venturing deeper and deeper underground. At one point, they even had to crawl to reach a particular underground chamber. And that's exactly what became the downfall of one student, a boy named Joe Lister. While they were inside, it began to rain heavily outside, causing the underground spaces to slowly fill with water. Eventually, a flash flood surged through the tunnels, and the students had to find a way to escape. In a desperate race against time, they swam through the now flooded corridors until they finally made it back to the surface. But Joe Lister wasn't so lucky. He got stuck in one of the tunnels and drowned. Perhaps a trip like this should never have happened in the first place. One way or another, it marked the tragic end of a completely ordinary student's life. Another person who underestimated risk was Austin Howell, a climber known for completing breathtaking mountain routes and posting videos online. He made waves in the climbing world with extreme stunts like in 2017 when he scaled a 100-meter cliff in North Carolina completely naked. Fans quickly realized he wasn't like other climbers. In 2018, Howell revealed he had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which caused depressive and manic episodes. During these phases, he started climbing without ropes or any safety equipment, massively increasing his risk. And even though he was highly skilled and planned his routes carefully, tragedy still struck. After already falling 10 meters at an indoor gym, a fall that should have ended his climbing career, he set out in 2019 to climb a notoriously dangerous route that many considered suicidal to attempt without a rope. Despite his best friend and father begging him not to go, Howell did it anyway and fell 25 meters to his death. It was a tragic end to the life of an incredibly talented free climber. Finally, we come to a tragic case that shows how dangerous extreme esoteric beliefs can be. This is the story of a young German named Finn Bogamill. As a young adult, Finn got heavily into esotericism and became a believer in a concept called light nourishment. According to this belief, humans can live without food or water, supposedly drawing all their energy from subtle sources like sunlight and air. Supporters claim this leads to spiritual purity and higher energy. Although there is no scientific or medical evidence for any of it, Finn believed in it so deeply that in 2019 he traveled to the Caribbean jungle to fast intensely and become a so-called light eater, a person who survives entirely without eating or drinking. But the worst happened. After weeks with no contact, Finn was found lifeless at a small jungle campsite. He had literally fasted himself to death. He became the first German in 20 years to die from the light nourishment cult. May he rest in peace, and may his death serve as a reminder of how important it is to critically question esoteric movements and dangerous cults. As mentioned earlier, these were all real people who lost their lives. And while some of these stories may seem absurd or unbelievable, behind each one is a real tragedy and real families left behind. So please remain respectful. Which of these stories shocked you the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more.